assisting you, to get yourself in order and live comfortably.
I'm here, sir.
Original. Go to your crew. Yes, baby. Come. Yes, sir. Turn around, take a photo. Let me see. Turn around.
Turn him around.
Turn around. That's it. Yes. You rode your crew. Everybody good? Nice, nice. All right.
And greet our President, His Excellency, Dr. Irfaan Ali. Wait for them. All right, let us remain standing as I recite or read the universal prayer. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Let us now stand for the national pledge. I pledge Thank you. You may have your seat. I put them here. All right, Minister retreats, and then Minister, and then our Minister.
Yes.
Thank you. night, everyone. So we will now go straight into the program, where we're going to have the welcome and opening remarks by Tushao of Yupukari Village.
Yeah. His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Honorable Minister of Education, Honorable Priya Manachan, Honorable Minister Vikram Bharat, Minister of Natural Resources, Honorable Minister within the Ministry of Housing, Honorable Susan Rodriguez, Regional Chairman of Region Number 9, our own Mr. Brian Alicock, Mr. Carl Singh, Regional Executive Officer, Security, members of the media, other dignitaries, special invitees, ladies and gentlemen, resident of Yupukari, resident of Kwatata, Fly Hill. I join with you to welcome His Excellency, President no other than Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali to Yupukari. And other members, the ministers, as I would have mentioned, from the Natural Resources, Minister within the Ministry of Housing, and our own also, Honorable Priya Manachan. Today's speaks a volume as we have been receiving. And today has been a very high and auspicious moment as history in Yupukari and its satellites. With that being said, we are moving into greater development. I must commend the government, by extension, His Excellency, for the intervention of communities development and the hard-working members of his government who are with him today. Ladies and gentlemen, resident, we have been witnessing a great development, and that will not stop. It will continue. So, as speaking in that welcoming remarks, I fully endorse His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali to return in the second term in his presidency. You are to speak on that. You are to say that. As I always say, this is in a right moment. This is not what we are just speaking about, but action speaks louder than words. And we have within our, you would have seen a lot of government agencies also, as I would have recognized representing Ministry of Amerindian Affairs here with us, our own also, the Management Development Officer within us here, and others too. And Regional Chairman and REO also, who are on the ground in Region 9, and also representing the ministries I see here from the education sector, that they too play a great role in implementing the projects that has been implemented by the relevant authorities, relevant government agencies. We have seen a great, by extension from region 1 to 10, right across the length and breadth of our own country, which we call One Guyana. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us give, in welcoming our own president, another big round of applause. A resounding round of applause as he is being seated now, so that we can hear in few minutes of his more commitment when he returns in his presidency in the second term.
Naturally would have protected our forests so that we can gain from it today and be recognized as one of the most outstanding countries in the world. I believe as Guyanese we need to be more proud and we need to show more patriotism. Sometimes I believe too that we don't show enough patriotism. We don't show that we are proud to be Guyanese. Many of us, when we leave Guyana, then we become patriotic. But today there is so much to celebrate in our own country. Today there is so much development taking place in our own country. Today our young people can dream again. Today our young people can dream of having a prosperous life in their own community, in their own region, by ensuring they acquire solid education and taking advantage of the opportunities. Because I can tell you, this is only the beginning. And the president will tell you what are his plans when he's re-elected this year to take Guyana forward and providing even greater opportunities for our people. So my friends, the road ahead is a bright one for all of us as Guyanese. But the only way we can do that is to continue working in partnership, you and your government, whether it's local government, whether it's regional government, or whether it's at the central level. So this year, as I mentioned, we will be faced with a very important decision to make. And as I mentioned too, that decision will decide whether we want to move our country forward. Because we have seen that development in this country only takes place when the PUP civic is in government. And whenever we are out of government, we retrogress, we go backwards, and our people suffer. So let us ensure that when we make that decision, we think about the future. We think about what we want for our community and our people in the next 5 years from now. And also we look back at the development that took place over the short 4.5 years that we have been in government to date. Even though we had to battle COVID and battle other issues, we can boast and we can come here and we can stand on a solid platform of development, progress, and prosperity for all Guyanese. And when His Excellency started the One Guyana movement, the One Guyana movement not only speaks the unity among Guyanese, which is very important and which is needed for us to move forward as a country, because that is the only way we are going to truly develop our country, to ensure that we work together and live together. But the other part of the One Guyana movement is to ensure that we bring prosperity to every single Guyanese. every single Guyanese, whether you live on the coast or whether you live in the hinterland. And we have seen that. Today, our hinterland young people can acquire a gold scholarship and they can study right there in their community through internet connectivity from the ICT hub. Today, you're benefiting from a number of measures rolled out by the President Ali-led administration. And you heard from the chairman of the cash grants. You heard of the number of young people that are being trained to work in different fields as teachers, as police, and even in the oil and gas sector. Today we can comfortably say that we have about 7,000 young Guyanese working in the oil and gas sector. And that is quite an achievement. So let us continue working together. Let us continue supporting our president, who has been working tirelessly to ensure that every single Guyanese life is uplifted and that we can live a comfortable life as Guyanese. So my brothers and sisters, once again, thank you very much for the warm welcome to your village, and let us continue working together to bring greater progress to your community and to make our country great. Thank you very much.
Thank you also, Minister Vikram Bharat. And Yupukari, let's give him another round of applause. Thank you. We'll now continue with remarks by our Minister of Housing and Water, the Honorable Susan Rodriguez. Let's get that right. So we will continue with remarks by our Minister of Education, the Honorable Priya Manikchand.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We're confusing you, too many of us. Good afternoon, and we're very, very sorry that you had to wait. But as Chairman said, President got his own style. Your own styling. He doesn't like to leave people if they're trying to speak to him. And so we're just coming from Katoka, where there were residents of Katoka and Samoni, where we just opened a new school. And we're now here at Yupukari to commission a school, secondary school for the children of Yupukari in Fly Hill and Kaikumbe and Kotata. And this is the second school, secondary school, President Ali is commissioning for today. But I want to pause and take you back to 2020. In 2020, we had an election in March. And because the people who were then in government had to be forced by the world, by CARICOM, by the Commonwealth, by the UN, by the US, Canada, the UK, and every other country, had to force them out of office because they wanted to steal your will. So we took 5 months before President Ali could be sworn in. But we had another, because that was one disaster. We had another disaster happening at that time around the world, COVID-19. You remember that? Because it's easy to forget it. We're now sitting with one another and hugging up and being friendly and coming out. At that time, we thought we could die if we had, and we possibly could have, if we had a gathering like this. We had to wear masks. We had to stay in our homes or keep a distance of 6 feet. And so when we came into office for 5 months, your schools were closed. You remember that? They told your children to stay home without asking you how we were going to engage them in education. So the other countries in the Caribbean, Barbados and Trinidad and so, spend that 5 months trying to figure out how to educate their children, go online, get computers. They had shortages in the world, do worksheets, gather in small groups, go on the radio. But the Guyana government, made up of the AP and UAFC, did not do anything. They were trying to steal government. So when we came in, all your children were home. and they were doing nothing. And right away, we began to write worksheets. You remember that? And send out worksheets first to the hinterland because we knew that you had the least access in channel. Because back then, the coastal children could be taught on the learning channel, but not yours, because you didn't have it. All your schools now have that. All your children now have access to that education. Then we bought textbooks, and we gave it to all your children, and not just any textbooks, because sometimes people say, oh, in Barnum days we used to get textbooks too. We used to get textbooks, but it's what kind and how many? What we bought for your children is exactly what the private school children in Georgetown were using. So if you see books like Guyana, Our Country, Our Home, it's not a Guyanese, it's about Guyana, but we don't own it. Or Graded Math, or a Process of Learning English Grammar. Those are only books you could have gotten if you had a credit card and could go online and buy it. Or if you could jump on a plane and go to Trinidad and buy it. Your children couldn't get it. Now each and every child has a package in their book bags to carry home. If they choose to carry it home, all the textbooks you need for all the subjects from nursery all the way up to secondary. Let me tell you what that means. A grade 6 package is worth about $28,000. So that means that you don't have to spend on that. But like I said, even if you were willing to make the sacrifice, you couldn't get it. All your children are getting breakfast and lunch, a hot meal now. Is that not true? All of the children across this region. And it's not being made in Georgetown and brought in here. It's your village. The women in your village that we're paying to do that. Then you have schools going up. So what's this secondary school? On the 25th of November, I was here. I don't know if you remember last year. And Carl Singh showed me 2 classrooms that you were putting up to extend your primary top. And I asked him, I was like, Carl, the PPP doesn't build primary tops. You want me to go back and have the president slaughter me? We have to build a secondary school, a full secondary school. And it began then, we began immediately to extend what was going to be classrooms into a full secondary school. And that is what we will commission today for about 200 of your children. Not a primary top, a discrete secondary school with trained teachers to teach the secondary program. It's not a department. And this is in Yupukari today. I just told you we came from Katoka, where we built a secondary school. We're building one in Karasabai. We're building one in Tapachinga. We're building one in Mawarnao. We're building one in Napi. We're building one at Masara. 7 secondary schools in one Irfaan Ali term, his first term for Region 9. Now, since the people came first to this region, thousands of years ago, since the first set of people settled here, your ancestors settled here, we have only had 3 secondary schools, 4 in the region. St. Ignatius, Sand Creek, Anai, and Aishalton. In one 5-year term, we are building 7 secondary schools. Do you understand what that means for your children? It means we're providing about 2,500 new seats in secondary. which means those children who would have dropped out at grade 9 or had nowhere else to go because they were in a primary top will now be able to go all the way to CXC and then all the way to university and have opportunities that they never before had. Are you understanding what that means for the next generation, for the future? The dreams you had. Many of you can't read and write, but you're efficient and you're capable and you're bright. And you know how I know that? Because I see it in your children. Once we give them the opportunity, they shine and they excel. And that is not only from what they eat, it came from you. But you didn't have the opportunity. And what do you want for your children? All of you here. You want a life of plenty. You want a life where they didn't have struggle, where they don't have to struggle like you. Isn't that what you want? If they want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or a farmer, whatever it is they want, you want that for them. Isn't that so? And that is what we have to give to you. Not because we're doing you a favor, but because we are your servants and we must serve you. But that is our philosophy. Shortly, we will begin to distribute to each and every school child in the region $55,000. That will happen in the next couple of weeks under the Because We Care cash grant. And I want you to remember, when the APNU AFC came into government, they met a Because We Care program that we left. At that time, we were giving every child $10,000. Do you remember it if you have older children? And we had said that it would build up until it reached at least $50,000. They said no, they're going to take it away and replace it with 5 Bs. You remember the 5 Bs? Breakfast. Your children were always getting a hot meal, but did they get breakfast? They did not get breakfast. Boats. Did you get boats? Buses. Did you get buses? Boots. Did you get boots? And some other B. I don't remember what the other B is. Bicycles. Did you get bicycles? So here is the thing. The Irfaan Ali government has given more buses and boats in 4 years than they did in 5 years. We have also introduced breakfast, although your children were already on the hot meal program. So that's 2 of the B's. We're giving you all the books you need. Where there's a need for boats, well, I said boats and buses, we've given more. Plus, we are giving the cash grant. Do you understand what that means? You get all they gave you plus the cash grant because we do not take away benefits. Now let us look at what they could have done at the time that they took away the Because We Care cash grant. It was $1.6 billion. This school that we just commissioned cost just under $100 million. They could have built 16 secondary schools across this country, but they did not. Do you know how many they built? Across the whole of Guyana, the APNU AFC started and finished exactly 0 secondary schools. 0. None. Not. None. We are currently in 1 term building 35 to 38 secondary schools or extensions or major extensions. And my friends, a lot of people will come to you and tell you we didn't have the money. But is that true? You took away 1.6. Couldn't you put down 1 single secondary school here in Region 9? Couldn't you took away the $1.6 billion in the Because We Care cash grant? Couldn't you have given to our children the textbooks they needed? Or the Guyana Learning Channel? Or breakfast as you promised? So we have different philosophies in the political parties before you. We do not come to you. At the last meeting, a lady got up at Katoka and she said, Mr. President, I'm the leader of a women's group. And the last government, when they thought we were going to the election, they came in and said they were going to build a $60 million building so that our women's group would have a home and we could meet. And she said they started, but it didn't finish. And she said they only started it because of elections. You will never see from the PPPC us here only when there are elections. We come in opposition. We were the first set of people in opposition without government money to start distributing face masks and hampers and powder to get rid of ants in your villages, in your farms. You see us in opposition. You see us in day one when we get into government. You would recall that 2020 December, I came back and brought toys for the entire region, every single child in this region, and we hadn't come out of COVID as yet. You remember that? And you see us every single year, like I told you. In 2024, when we had no elections, I was here in this village, turning the sod for that school. So we don't come to you when we want your vote alone. We come to you in service every day once we're in office. And yes, it is true. You're not going to see us every day. If President Ali were to go to every indigenous community, we have 215 with 12 months. Do you understand what would happen? Let's say he were to go to everyone once a month. Then that's all he would be doing. But when your children go home with books in their book bags, that's us in your village. When you're able to go to the health center and get your medicine, that is the president in your village. When you're able to get water, and I understand that's a problem, we're trying to fix those things. When you're able to get the Guyana Learning Channel, that is us serving you in your village. So we mightn't be here every day with you, but every single day, every single minister, the vice president, the general secretary of the party, and the president are working for you, are working to make sure your children do better. Now, what does the school mean to you, my brothers and sisters? It means that those of you who decided, and I know there are many of you, that you did not want to send your children to board and lodge at St. Ignatius. And that is why you kept them here in the primary top. And many children from Fly Hill and Kotata and Kaikumbe stopped going to school. So what does that mean? It means now your children could stay home, in your homes, be loved by you, be guided by you, be watched by you, be fed by you, and still get an education. And when they're finished that education, they could then go into university. They could study on the Guyana Online Academy of Learning right here in 20 foreign universities at no cost to themselves because the government pays for that. And so that's how seriously we take education. If you look at your trained teachers, we used to be able to graduate 535 at most teachers per year. By the end of this year, we would have graduated 5,000 teachers in the system. Region 9, when we came into Region 9, into office in 2020, Region 9 had about a 62% trained teachers. Now Region 9 has 99% of its teachers trained or currently in training. That's a big difference because it's not just about building the school and putting the desk and bench. Who stands up in front of your children's class to teach? Has to be a trained teacher. And now we're allowing our teachers to stay in their villages. Stay in your village and get training. So what used to happen is we would have a young female teacher, just got married, has a baby, start teaching. can't go to Turkine in Georgetown. So she spends her entire life as an untrained teacher, but has a passion for this and is meeting many children over the years. Now she can, and she had to stay with the salary of an untrained teacher. Now in 2 years, she can stay in her village and become a trained teacher and get a better salary as a trained teacher. Then if she spends 2 more years, she could go to the University of Guyana while staying in her own village and become a graduate trained teacher with a better salary. That is the kind of investment we're making in your people, in your young people, and in the future of the country through your children. So my friends, when we come here and we tell you we love you, when you hear the President speaking of service and love, when you hear the General Secretary speaking of the PPP's philosophy to serve the nation and do so equitably and equally, these are the kinds of things we talk about. It doesn't matter which mountaintop you're living on or which valley you're living in, which stream you're living by on, which coast or bank, river bank you're living in. You will see us, you will feel us, you will get our service. Because all across Guyana, that is what we're doing. And why are we doing it? Because we believe that we could only thrive together. We can't develop one part of the country and leave out one part and expect our country to grow. Everybody must grow together. And even when we have little, we share it with everyone. When we have a lot, we are sharing it with everyone. And you see that in us every single day. We remain your servants. We remain the people who are consistently and constantly going to be people who bring to you and your families goodness through the various sectors: agriculture, health, education, human services, housing, water, connectivity, ICT, you name it, you will see a difference. And so when you get a chance, because you have a lot of power, you have a lot of power, and I want to remind you of that power. What your life looks like in the next 5 years is up to you. You have that power. You could decide what your life will look like in the next 5 years. Don't give away that power. We won't let anyone steal it from you. Together, we won't let anyone steal it from you. But it's a power you have, and it's a power you must exercise wisely. A power to choose what your future looks like. And you know why I think we're in this generation, we're lucky. When I started voting at age 18, the only people I knew was the PPP. I didn't know anybody else. You now know the PPP, and you know the APNU, and the PNC, and the AFC, and all the new people. You know both sides. And you know the comparisons. And you know who comes in and helps you, and who comes in and serves you, and who comes in and listens to you, and who comes in and incorporates what you want for your village into their plans. You know that. And you also know the people who you don't see unless they want something from you. So we're in a better place than we've ever been before in the country. We can compare the various people coming to us in the various parties. And I invite you to compare. I invite you to judge them on their record. Judge people on their record. And we are very, very sure that once you do that, you're going to continue to give yourself the beautiful life that you deserve, that your children deserve, by reinstalling and putting as president again Irfaan Ali under the People's Progressive Party Civic. So today, on this Easter Saturday, the day before Christ rose, and in that rising brought hope to mankind, and promised us that we would have eternal life in him, I invite you to come along with us on this journey of love. on this journey of hope, on this journey where there will be more and more opportunities for your children, on this journey where you can be right here, anything you want to be. Join us on this journey today on this Easter Saturday. When Christ is risen, join us in this journey of hope and love. I thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for those words. So at this point, we're going to pause a bit for some entertainment, and we're going to have a dance by the students of Yupukari Primary. Students for the dance. All right, thank you for that dance, that wonderful dance. And now let us stand. All right, so we'll now have the feature address by His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please have your seats. My respected elders, young people, the beautiful people here of Region 9, specifically Yupukari and some of the satellite communities in Fly Hill, Kaikombe, and Parishara, Quataman, Quataka. Those are the ones here. Quataka is here? There's a project from Parishara to Kaikombe. That is a road project from Parishara to Kaikombe that is part of your priority. So that is why I am saying that Parishara is an important part of the meeting today, because that project is a priority project for you. Am I not correct? Yes. Is that project a priority? Yes. Good. So you see, we are ahead of things. We are on top of things. I want to say how very pleased I am to be here with you, and in this rain on a Saturday, in this rain, you are here. All of you are here. And I want to say thank you very much for this type of commitment. This type of commitment for your community. This type of commitment for the development of your villages. And indeed, this type of commitment is grounded in your belief system. Because this weekend, it's a very religious weekend. And we're celebrating important life concept. And as a religious community, you know, like every religious scripture, the Bible teaches about the importance of community, encouraging believers to actively participate in building and strengthening communities, fostering love, unity, mutual support, and of course, acts of service and shared resources. And this is the philosophy that guides us. A philosophy in the People's Progressive Civic, a philosophy in the PPP from its foundation that speaks to love, unity, and community, bringing our people together in community, investing in our people, and of course, being a national party that promotes unity and love. That is the party you represent. That is the philosophy you represent. And during this weekend, coming out of Holy Week, we are taught about three important lessons of life. The lessons of hope, renewal, and new life. These are three of the principal lessons of the Easter story. Am I right? Hope, renewal, and new life. And these concepts are relevant even to our life in community and our life in country. You see, in 2019, 2018, 2017, I had the opportunity to visit villages across Region 9. When your children, because we care grant was taken away, when the old age pensioners would have seen their lives impacted on because less than 30% of the medical drugs and supplies were available in the health clinics and the hospital, so you had no access to your health supplies. When the transportation in the villages were left without maintenance and most of it were not working, that was the period. That was a period that required a sense of hope to be reinstilled. And hope comes from service. And in the scriptures we are taught about servanthood. About servanthood. We are taught about service that is based on servanthood. And if you look at our philosophy and what we have done since we came into office in 2020, you will see that every day of the year we were in service to the people. We were in service with you. And we thank all of you at a community level for being a part of this journey, for being a part of this partnership, for coming together, for us working as Proverbs 17:17 reminds us. A friend loves at all time, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. And the PPP Civic has been and continue to be your friend and your brother throughout every season. In the difficult times, in the good times, in the hard times, in the easy times. Because our philosophy is grounded in service. You see, we have to assess two different philosophies. The philosophy of the APNU-ASC that is centered around their leadership. They are seasonal in their approach. They are opportunistic in their approach. They are self-serving in their approach. And of course, you would have known that every single promise they made when they were going to the 2015 elections, they have not kept any of those promises. Compare that to the People's Progressive Party Civic. Compare that to our track record. Not only now, but every time we were in government, we have kept all our promises and all our commitment in the manifesto. And every time we were in government, your communities would have seen enormous improvement. So our philosophy is people-centered. Our philosophy is driven in service to family, community, region. We are reliable. We are relentless. And we are not after power. We are after responsibility. When we come to you and ask you for your support, we ask you for the responsibility for you to trust us with the responsibility of making your lives better, your children's lives better, your parents' life better, your community life better. And as you look around this community, the beautiful new roofs, the new buildings, all the new structure, the new school, your community is growing and getting more prosperous and better. Am I not correct? Your community is better off today. And that is because of this philosophy of service. This philosophy of being reliable. This philosophy of being grounded in service to you, the people. Understanding, as we are directed, be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care. Watch over them, not because you must, but because you're willing, as God so wants. So when we are given this responsibility, it is not caring for the people and watching over them because we must, just because it's a duty and responsibility. It must be because we're willing. We're willing to sacrifice. We're willing to come out here on weekends. We're willing to have meetings in the community. We're willing to walk with the people. We're willing to lift the people up. We're willing to sacrifice and work with the people. And my dear friends, my brothers and sisters, let us take a brief look at the period of COVID when we were in opposition. And I'll demonstrate to you how committed we are. When no one wanted to go in any of the communities, when the government was not doing anything in any of the communities, What did the PPP Civic did? What did the PPP do? The mayor is here, and he will tell you that we launched a national mass campaign from opposition. We went village to village in opposition, market to market, community to community, sharing out masks, making masks and sharing out masks and sanitizer and hampers, because we are a party that cares about people in or out of government. We are constantly there with the people. That is our guiding philosophy. And you must always remember that if APNU AFC hold the reins of power in this country for 36 years, one may ask how we get 36. For 33 years, since we're independent, the APNU AFC, because they're one of the same, held power in this country. And 3 years, we had a minority government. And what did they use that 3 years for? They used those 3 years to block development across this country. Never forget, it was the APNU AFC that used the majority in Parliament to block monies to build hinterland airstrips, to invest in specialty hospital in our country, to invest in medical care and community development, in housing, in water. It was the APNU AFC that blocked those development when they had the majority in Parliament. This is the philosophy. So there is a big difference in the two philosophies. And when you look, you know, all of you, when you have your children, how do we assess how well they're doing in school? They have the report card, right? Am I not right? And when they come home, you check the report card. Am I not right? Ask yourselves a question. Why is the APNU AFC afraid to defend their report card? When you ask them about all that took place in their most latest version of being in government, you know what their response is? Don't bother with the past, let us work about the future. They cannot. They have no basis, no grounding. They have no principle on which they can report on their report card in government. Every time we come out here, we can give you a full report on our leadership in government. And today, I don't have to go through with you all that we have done. The ministers would have done that. We also want to listen to you, because today is about crafting the next 5 years in government. It's about listening to you, some of your ideas, some of what you want to see in the manifesto, some of what you want to see for your villages, because we believe in the power of the people, the power of the ideas that come from the people. That power is what brings the greatest community development, and that is the philosophy of the People's Progressive Party. So here in Region 9, we support the PPP all the time. The APNU AFC never give you a dime. Every day, the PPP is at the grind. The critics, never mind. The PPP is with us all the time. And that captures concisely what the PPP is about. You must remember that when a sitting minister in the cabinet of the APNU AFC refer to indigenous people, to our Amerindians, as greedy, it is the PPP Civic that stood up and asked them to apologize. They never did. As a government or individually, they never did. But as your humble servant, I apologize for him, because he know not what he speaketh of. You are the rock of this nation. You are the foundation. You are the first people, and you deserve the highest and greatest of respect and regards. That is why continuously we'll invest in you. And you know, Prayer was speaking about education. In this region now, we have about 491 trained teachers, most of whom were trained under different PPP government. But now, as I speak to you, imagine over the years, we have been able to get 491 trained teachers. In the last 4 years alone, we have more than 473 teachers now under training right here in your region, right here in your community to become trained teachers. And you know what? They used to get a stipend of $10,000 per month whilst they were doing training. Today, not only are we paying for that training and giving them the training right here in the region, but they are getting a full salary every month whilst they're being trained. It is not by accident that you now have 473 teachers who are on the training. It is because of the investment we have made to ensure that your children had access to secondary education that give them the basis on which they can now enter the teaching profession. Because when the PPP took office the first time in 1992, after the dictatorship, you had absolutely almost zero access to secondary education in this region. Today, with full access to secondary education, all your children would have an opportunity to be what they want to be. We just came from Katoka Secondary that we opened. And in that secondary school, there is a science lab. And two young girls, I'm not even speaking about the homemakers, Minister said, and the IT and the smart classroom, the science classroom. And what touched me is two young girls came up and they said, Mr. President, we can now dream of being doctors without fear because we now can do science in this secondary school. And I always tell the young people, don't take this for granted. It is not because you are better than your parents or grandparents. It is because they never had the opportunity that you have. They never had the access that you have. They never had the gold scholarship. They never had free university education like you have. They never had access to secondary school. Today, for the first time, the chairman was telling me, we have 10 of your children in the officers cadet program of the Guyana Defense Force because they now have the opportunity to get the subjects that is required to join that program. These things must not be taken for granted. As I speak to you today, we have more than 375 of your young children who would have graduated in the program of community health worker, nursing assistant, nursing, the medical laboratory technicians, nursing assistant, pharmacy assistant. More than 377 we are trained in this region, and they are now employed right here in your region, earning a full salary every month. And we have said that every single one with a basic qualification that needs to come into this program, we will take them into the program, and if they don't have the qualification, we'll upgrade them and upskill them so that they can get the qualification to get into this program. That is the love of the People's Progressive Party Civic. That is the love of this government. You know, in these villages alone, here at Quat Wataka, Yupukari, and Fly Hill. In these 3 villages alone, and Kaikombe, I'm not telling you about the pensioners' money. I'm not counting the cash grant, the COVID grant, the Because We Care grant, the eye subsidy, the dental subsidy. I'm not counting any of that. In infrastructure alone, in these villages, we've invested more than $450 million. That is why today you have water. Water is not the issue, but now you want water to be extended. You want the network to be expanded and extended, and we understand that. Because as the community grows, as development improves, as you have greater assets and greater access to healthcare, education, you want better service, extended service. And you can rely on the People's Progressive Party to give you just that. So my friends, as we work together, we also know, and part of our philosophy is that every day we have our mayor here, we have the regional chairman, we have the REO, we have Tushao, we have our cabinet ministers. They come to the community. And every day we are working on how we can bring initiatives to further strengthen and enhance the community. How we can bring initiative to further solidify the development to make your lives better. And as we craft the way forward for the next 5 years with you, in consultation with you here today, we know that there are some things that are important that we are already discussing with you on implementing now and in the new budget. These things are under active implementation, and I want you to be assured. For example, in Yupukari, connecting the satellite villages, you want minibuses. You want further help in transportation. Am I not right? The Ministry of Amerindian Affairs already took note of that, and we are already procuring 2 buses to support the satellite communities. You know, as a 17-year-old, I had the honor to 18 years old to work with state planning. And I work under Minister Barry Jagdeo and President Barry Jagdeo as a technician and then as a cabinet minister. And I always remind him that when we were going to these communities first, the big request used to be a fork and shovel and cutlass. Today, we have grown to the extent that our requests are ATVs, chainsaws, minibuses, boat, engine, health centers, clinics, hospitals, schools, because you know the People's Progressive Party Civic has delivered and has made life incrementally better for you in these communities. So I know we are already in the process, and I know this community, one of the main things here is that you're about 70 kilometers from Letem, and you want an ambulance. Am I right? Yes. I want to tell you that that ambulance is also being procured for your community. And I don't have to remind you about the CSOs and the part-time workers and the more than 35 members of the community policing that we have here in the satellite. And I have good news for them, because we are going to put them on the pathway project so they can get the stipend here in these communities working. All our community policing group members. The 72 CSOs that lost their jobs under the AP and UFC, they took it away. The more than 40 pathway workers, the enhancement workers, all of these people who are working in these communities. In Fly Hills, the Yupukari Bridge, the Yupukari and Fly Hill Bridge. I know we made it out of wood. Am I not right? We have a timber bridge there. Am I not right? And now the community want to upgrade it into a concrete bridge. And we have asked the region and the ministry to put that in the program, in the budget, so you can have that concrete bridge there. and Katoka Junction to Fly Hill, which is about 3 kilometers. Am I not right? It's about 3 kilometers. We are doing our work. Every day we are in service to you. That is how we know all of this. We're going to continue work on upgrading that road because that is important for you. And in Fly Hill, you want the trestles by the school and the health care. We have to build those trestles and put the black tank. And we have that in the program also. And furthermore, for the 516 households, we have already earmarked the tank project so you can harvest and harness your rainwater from your improved roof that you have. So every household will get one of that tank to support this initiative. And then the Kaikombe Sport Ground. That need further enhancement and work. Am I not right? You need that? That is also in the program. And Kaikombe is now talking about developing a housing scheme. They want to develop housing close proximity to each other. Am I not right? Isn't this what you want? I have asked the Minister of Housing. I know you want help to do it. Fly Hill also. I have asked the Minister of Housing to take note of this and to see how we can support this. Because in our next term in government, we are going to expand the housing support and core homes project in Region 9. We have to build at least 1,000 of those core homes across Region 9. That is what you want. Not what we are imposing, what the people want. And then we have, of course, the Parishara to Kaikombe Road, the Laterite Road. That's about 5 to 6 kilometers, right? Where is Carl? 5 to 6 kilometers. I've already asked the engineers to look at that so we can work incrementally, kilometer by kilometer, to upgrade that laterite road so you can have a good road. These are the things that worry us. These are the things that we work on every single day. I can remind you of the grant for the new babies, the fertilizer. Every single farmer will get 1 bag of fertilizer per acre of land. So if in the village you're farming 60 acres of land, you will get 60 bags of fertilizer coming here to support the village. These are the things that we are doing. The CXC help. Yesterday we heard a story of how important this is for your children. So not only are we supporting access to secondary education, but we are now paying for the children's CXC. We are giving them free university education, the Gold Scholarship, access to the internet, jobs, creating opportunities for people all across our country. The investment to ensure we protect you against cervical cancer, the eye care eye voucher, the health care voucher, the support for dialysis. All of this is tens of millions of dollars that we are spending in your communities, in your region, to make your life and quality of life better. So you have a friend, a trusted friend in the People's Progressive Party civic government. You have in the People's Progressive Party civic government our commitment for hard work, our dedication to service, our servanthood leadership that seek to always put the people first. You are the center of development. So as we continue to work together, as we continue to build together, always know you have a reliable partner in the People's Progressive Party Civic. And as we move forward, we want, as I said, to hear from you. Because today is mostly to hear from you about your ideas, your thoughts, what you see as your priority, and how we can address those priorities. So with these few words, I thank all of you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you. Yes. All right, so at this point, the floor is now open to you for questions that you may have. from the different villages.
His Excellency, Dr. Irfaan Ali, and honorable ministers, and everybody else, residents, a very good afternoon. Speaking here is Eleanor Brong of Quatata Village, HM of Quatata Primary. Listening to you, I feel very emotional, and indeed, you deserve another time in the government. People's Progressive Party Civic. I must say how grateful I am when you visited here, Mr. President, the 13th of March 2022. I could clearly remember when I requested for a housing scheme for Quatata Village. It did happen. Thank you.